With that, let's jump in here. Next, you would have gotten this. Don't go there now, but this is a little thing, and I'll talk more about this later. It's got a QR code that's going to take you to some slides and some other information that I am going to be talking to you about here today. We are going to be talking about vision. I'm so excited to get into this and talk about this week and next week. There's so much that it's going to take 2 weeks. But church, God has a big call on this church. And he has big plans for this valley and things that he wants to do. And so I want to share with you some of the vision that God has put on our heart that didn't just come flippantly or just like all of a sudden overnight, thus saith the Lord. No, this has been weighed over time and years and developed to seek the face of God through fasting, through prayer, and through an incredible, amazing team of leaders to say, God, what are you doing? Where are you taking us? Where are you leading us? And so turn to your neighbor and ask them, where are you going? You weren't very excited to hear about where they're going. Like, let's do that again. Turn to your neighbor, say, where are you going? Yes. All right, now look at me. Where we are going is amazing. You're going to want to come along. It's going to be epic. Like, God has big plans. And so the funny thing about this is vision. Well, Habakkuk 2:2-3, and the ESV says, and the Lord answered me, write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so he may run who reads it. For still the vision awaits its appointed time. It hastens to the end, it will not lie. If it seems slow, wait for it. It will surely come, it will not delay. Proverbs 29:18 in the King James Version says, where there is no vision, the people perish. In the Message version, it says, if people can't see what God is doing, they stumble all over themselves, but when they attend to what he reveals, they are most blessed. Yes. Vision. Why vision? Because without it, you can't see. It gives you hope and strengthens your faith. It cultivates and builds unity. Clear vision gives you proper perspective. You know, in the ESV version of that Proverbs 29:18, it actually says where there is no prophetic vision. You see, and I'm not talking about just any vision because there is vision. So here's the thing. When you lack vision, it's hard to see. It's hard to understand. When I remember a time years ago, if you haven't noticed, my wife wears glasses. She didn't always wear glasses. Over time, her eyes, they kind of started going backwards, or I don't even know what to say. That like she needed glasses. She couldn't see as well as she could see before. Her vision was getting distorted. And I'll never forget, she had gotten glasses. She was wearing glasses. She was excited about it. But here's the thing. Even after a time of wearing glasses, her eyes continued to get a little worse. And so she needed to get new glasses. But it didn't happen instantly. It was a slow progression. And I'll never forget going to pick up the glasses. So she had to go, and they relook at some things, and they give her a new prescription for her glasses. We're at Costco. We get them. We go outside. She puts them on, and all of a sudden she goes, "Oh my gosh! I didn't realize how bad it had gotten. How distorted things were." How trees just looked like blurry things with cotton balls. And all of a sudden, leaves had definition to them. The shape of them was not just this blurry, furry thing anymore, but it was a leaf. Things, shapes, they had more clarity. She could see with better clarity. How cool that was. Vision matters. What you can see matters. And then also how God brings it to life in the vision from God. For years of my life, I could not see color. I was colorblind. December 2019 in worship, we're worshiping, and all of a sudden as we're worshiping, my eyes are closed, and I have this vision and conversation with God where I start seeing just everything is just white as white can get. Like pure white. And all of a sudden in this, as we're worshiping, I'm just crying out and pouring out my heart to God. I all of a sudden see this river of red flowing. I'm like, that is cool. That's red? He goes, look at that. And I hear him say, red is the new white. We have been purified. We have been cleansed by the blood of Christ, by his death and resurrection. I open my eyes, and all of a sudden I'm looking around. It's December, it's Christmas time. Our team has this place decorated, and man, they do a killer job. There's garland up here with ornaments. There's poinsettia plants up here, whatever. I don't even know. I say it wrong all the time. I'm told they're like poinsettias or something. Yeah. Poinsettias? Poinsettia. We're going to learn the pastor here today. But you know what's really cool? For 35 years of my life, I didn't know those things were red. And I open my eyes and we're worshiping, and I see this garland and these ornaments and this poinsettias, whatever. One day, I've told this story enough times you'd think I'd have it figured out. All of a sudden, the flowery things, the Christmas ones, and the ornaments, I'm seeing red and green for the first time. And I'm like, is this real? I got to get up here and preach. And I didn't even know what to do, but for the first time in my life, I'm seeing color. The whole world changed. You talk about having vision and clarity of vision. When it's distorted or it's blurry or you're missing something, especially when you don't know what you don't know or you can't see what you can't see. Vision is critical, and not just any vision, but prophetic vision. What is God speaking to us? Where is God taking us? Once again, been having stuff fall from the ceiling. I don't know what this is about, but yeah. How cool is it when God opens our eyes and gives us revelation and insight into what he's doing? What did it say? It said, if people cannot see what God is doing, they stumble all over themselves. Have you ever felt like that? I've felt like that at times. And so it's incredibly important that we are tuned into what God is doing and not just wishful thinking and I've got this great and mighty plan and I'm going to do this cool thing and church, get behind me because this is where I'm going. No, this is where Jesus is going. Because if Jesus isn't at the center of it, if it isn't for him, if it isn't about him, if it isn't from him and to him, it's pointless. What we show up for is ridiculous without Jesus. I don't know about you, but getting on my knees, pouring out my heart, worshiping and raising my hands, it looks a bit foolish if it isn't for him. And so it's all about him. That's him. And this is the thing, what he has been speaking, and he's been doing this for a couple years now, but especially now, he's turning up, he's saying, it's time to make room for more. I don't know if you know this, but first service is just packed. Like, the church is growing. It's exciting. God is bringing an increase, and it's time to make room for more. And so we've been weighing this for several years now, and I'm going to get into more of what that is. But very specifically, God is calling us to be and build a church, first for the city, then the nations. I don't know about you, but when I hear something like that, I'm thinking that's overwhelming. It's hard enough just to be a church for us. But he's saying, no, I got bigger plans. And if you're just willing to trust me, watch what I can do. You see, maybe if you've gone and checked out our website in the last year or so, you would have seen right on the front page, it says a church for the city. And that's not just words. Where that comes from is Jeremiah 29:7. It says, but seek the welfare of the city where I have sent you into exile and pray to the Lord on its behalf. For in its welfare, you will find your welfare. You see, so that becomes outwardly focused. That becomes, Lord, you have brought me to this place. You have planted me here. I need to have roots here. How do you want me to respond in that? He says, I want you to turn your attention to others. And I want you to put them over yourself. Because in their welfare, you will find yours. And as they prosper, you will prosper. Turn your hearts and your affections and your attention to those that have not yet discovered me or encountered me, and pray for them. You see, he's speaking something very specific to a people who have been taken away from their homes, to everything they know, into another place, from Jerusalem to Babylon. And I don't know about you, but if I was taken away from here somewhere else, all I would be thinking about is when am I going to get back? But here's the thing. To understand the context of this, you've got to go back a couple verses. The two prior, it says, build houses and live in them. Plant gardens and eat their produce. Take wives and have sons and daughters. Take wives for your sons and give your daughters in marriage, that they may bear sons and daughters. Multiply there and do not decrease. He's saying, don't be waiting for the day that you're going to leave and just and grow and age and old and begin to die. No, I want you to multiply. I want you to build houses. I don't know about you, but when I build a house, I plan to be there for a while. It's not a one-year lease where when this is up, I got to find something else. Like the house we built that we live in, according to my wife, this is it. We aren't ever leaving. God's given me vision for that too. But God gave vision to her first. So much so that there are specific things, and even the way the house is designed, where God gave her vision. We have a bathroom that is like right off a door off our back patio, right there in the hall of the mudroom, so that we can have hundreds of people over, and we don't have to worry about everybody trampling through our house to go to our bathroom. But we've got a specific one. I was like, we could just get an outhouse when we got 100, 250 people here. She's like, no, that's not what God wants. It's like, but it'd be cheaper. And then I don't got to clean it. She's like, that's not what God wants. And the shifting, understand how cool that is and how that's from God. We're both very introverted. And so to have 100 people or so at our house is completely different than the way we think. That is God's vision. So to give specific vision and desires, where we planned this house that we built, and we're looking at it, and we're tearing it apart, and God's showing her this and showing her that. That was God. God gives us the plans. God gives us vision. And it's incredible what he does with it when we say yes. You see, and so he's doing stuff. We build houses to be there for a while. So much so, he's speaking to them, and he's saying, build families, build community, and build the church. And church, that's what he's saying to us. That if you're here today and you're hearing this, it's because God is saying, you are home. Maybe you're here just visiting, you've been questioning, you've been wondering, welcome home. God's saying, this is the season, this valley, this is the place where you drive roots down and you build families, you build community, you build houses, you take wives for your sons and husbands for your daughters, and you have kids and grandkids and great-grandkids and great-great-grandkids and great-great-great-great-grandkids and great-great-great-great-great-grandkids, and then I'm going to lose track there, but it's like great-great something multiplied grandkids. But here's the thing. You know God has no grandkids. He only has children first. And so each and every generation. So why does that matter? Because God's calling us to build families, to build community and build the church. But not just for you and I, but for those that are coming after us. You see, there's some really cool stuff in this that he's telling them, I want you to be there and be there for a while, specifically 70 years. You see, in verse 8, Jeremiah tells them, he says, do not listen to the prophets and the seers who you have asked to speak specific prophecies and different things. They're lying to you. You're going to be there a while. Hear what the Lord is saying. Because I don't know about you, but if I was taken somewhere else, I, again, would be like, well, when am I going to get back home? No, this is your new home. 70 years. I don't know if you know this, but that's 3 generations. That matters. You see, the Lord was really speaking in that because about a year and a half ago, March of 22, I took our entire team. It's something we do every year. We go to what's called the Advanced Conference. We're part of the Advanced Network. There are overseers, and we're a part of it relationally. And so we go to this conference every year. We brought them there, and I was so excited for months before and weeks before. I'm already thinking about next year's. And so excited for it. And what God is going to do. And I'd been praying for weeks and months like, God, we're taking our team. This is the biggest team we've ever taken. God, would you just show up and speak to them? And I had been praying for vision for them. And I had been praying that God would breathe fresh vision and new life and new hope and just stir up in them new calling, that they discover new gifting, like, wow, God is wide. I'd been praying for them and so focused on them. And what was so crazy and so cool, all along the way, I had been asking God a very personal question. You see, I came into this church. I've never known another church. I met Jesus in this church. I was born again in this church. I was raised up in this church. I now am the lead pastor of this church. But I never saw that or never knew that was coming. God did. God brought me to this place. But here's the thing. We had gone through some crazy stuff where this church had gone for. I'm talking about making room for more. But for those of you that do not know, in our past, there was a time where this church went from almost 200 people down to like 40 or 50, like that. Just instantly. Now we have 2 services. We got incredible, amazing groups, more than we've ever had. Like the people in this church are involved in this community and have influence, authority, and impact and are reaching the lost. It's amazing. I don't know, there's like 20-something people recently got baptized. How fun. How cool. But that wasn't a time. And imagine trying to preach and speak prophetic vision when you're retracting. And it was scary. And so we didn't know who the pastor was going to be at that time. And when I was told, hey, we think it's going to be you, I laughed. Like, you're ridiculous. There's no way that's me. But God knows. And so because of that, I had been asking this question as we had gone to this conference. And for months before, I was like, God, how long do you want me to do this? Where are we going? What are we doing? How long do you want me to do this? When do you want me to pass it on to someone? And I'd been asking, is it 10 years? Is it 5 years? Is it 20 years? God, what do you want from this? And at the end of this conference, they had all of our teams come together and they said, we want you to pray for your lead pastor. We want you to surround them and just pray for them. And in the midst of this, as we were praying, out of nowhere, God shows up and he goes, 5 generations. I want you to stop asking me. I want you to stop figuring it out. I want you to stop trying to answer this. You're going to see 5 generations through. Now, I believe that 2 to 3 of them are already here, but that there's 2 more to come that we've yet to meet. That's a lot of life. That's a big vision. That scares me. Years ago, Pastor David, we were talking about vision for the church, and he said if he had once heard, I don't know where he got it from, but if the vision isn't bigger than you, then it's not a vision worth having. Church, what we're doing, and when he says it's time to make room for more and we have to have vision for the future, is the future generations I'm so passionate about, because they're the ones who have the privilege to carry the church forward. They're the ones who get the gift and the burden of carrying the church forward. What we're building and where we're going and what we're doing is for them, not just for us. Now, there will be incredible things that we will see along the way, but it's the future church that we are building. And so it's incredible. It's imperative that we understand this. And so he was telling them to multiply and increase. Matthew 9:37 says very clearly, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. It's time to raise up others. It's time to raise up disciples. It's time for the church to disciple others and come alongside and mentor younger generations and cross same generation, same level, and up and down and all over the place, and to be stirring and encouraging the body to good works. Because the Lord has prepared them in advance. And it's time we wake up to him. And so here's the thing. There's a very specific call on this church. This church is called to be an apostolic church. I don't know if you've ever heard that before. Maybe you've heard that. And there's a lot of confrontation within the church around that word apostolic and apostle, where it's like, well, whoa, pastor, what do you mean by that? Like the apostles are dead, they're gone. Here's the thing. The word apostle has a very specific definition. Jesus didn't just make it up. It actually came from somewhere. He hijacked it from the Romans. You see, the very word apostle, just in its simplicity definition, is sent ones. And so what I mean by that when I say that God is speaking to this church to be an apostolic church, what apostles were. Before Jesus found his disciples, his 12 disciples, and then there were many more, and said, you are my apostles, the ones I am sending. Rome would take these people that were educated and influential, they were considered leaders within society, and they would build teams around them of artists and musicians and engineers and educated people and professionals and laborers, these incredible teams, and they would send them and say, you're the apostle, you're going with this whole team for the purpose of bringing the culture and the atmosphere of Rome to wherever they went. You see, we are called to be an apostolic church, and what I mean by that is we are called to raise up teams to send out and to send those that are in this church out into the community to build. Apostles build. They raise up and they build and advance the kingdom. And so what I mean by that is this church has a calling to raise up teams of people of authority, people of influence, people that have significance. So if you're here today and you're sitting here and you've thought, well, I'm just nobody, that's a lie, and you need to stop thinking that. God is calling you to more. God has put an assignment on you. In fact, further down in Jeremiah 29, verse 11 says, I know the plans that I have for you to prosper you, for your well-being, not to harm you, but to grow you and to bless you. God has good plans for you. And so God is raising up. You see, the devil knows this so much so that he would love for us to reject that word. He would love for us to say, no, those don't exist today. That's not there. That's not real. Where that comes from is in Ephesians 4. We call it the fivefold ministry. It's apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers. But very specifically, I'm not talking about apostle. I'm talking about an apostolic calling on a church, on a group of people, on this church, to advance the kingdom, to raise up teams, to send out with influence, with authority, to bring change to society and the community around us, to bring the culture and the atmosphere of heaven to earth. And into this city. So when I say a church for the city, I'm being very specific. You see, the devil knows this. This is why the devil knows that there are assignments on people that have been yet to be discovered, that there are people that have godly given talents, godly given gifts, and heavenly assignments to advance the kingdom, to do incredible things, whether it be in leadership, whether it be in politics, whether it be in arts and entertainment, whether it be in business in the marketplace, whether it be in the medical field, whether it be in education, wherever it is. And the devil knows this, but this is the thing, he doesn't know who. So what does he do? He just sends out an assignment, a hellish assignment of abortion to just take them out before they even get here. Do not be deceived. We have an enemy. And so the Lord is calling us to advance. He's raising this church up to be an apostolic church, to go out and to bring change. And that's you. That's you, church. You might be sitting here going, yeah, but you don't know me. No, I know myself. I know who I was. Remember, I laughed at them when they said, we think it's you. It's like, have you listened to me speak? Have you heard my thoughts that just come out like puke? Like, I am not that guy. But here's the thing, God is always developing us before he develops our vision. And so I want to read something to you. The very first time I ever preached vision to the church as the lead pastor was March 8th, 2020. And this is what I shared. This is what I spoke. I said, for the first time, Christian City Church is to be a training ground and a safe place where people can come to be equipped, encouraged, and empowered to step into all that God has called them to be. We are going to be a church where some of the most hurt and broken individuals, the ones society says are not fit to live among us, come for refuge and to encounter the love of God. And then I shared this. However, I don't think we are ready to receive them because we're still learning how to love ourselves. As Jesus has said to, and as he does. He said, love your neighbor as yourself. That was calling that we weren't there. We were just climbing out of a hole. We were still healing from where we had come from just 2 years before of fallout and pain and a lot of suffering. And God gives this word, and I'm like, really? Because that don't look like us, God. He says, yeah, but you're going to start seeing things the way I see things. And I already said this, I'm going to say it again. God always develops us before he develops our vision. You see, a lot of times we hear a prophetic word or we hear something that's vision or a calling, and we think instantly we go into it's time to do. We start thinking, I got to do this, I got to do that. Like if God is speaking this, I need to start doing this to get ready. Like all of a sudden, do. And it's not as much about what we do in his name as it is what we become in his name. You see, there's not a lot we can do. We're not ready. I don't know how to love myself as Jesus has called me to. I don't know how to see myself as Jesus sees me. We weren't ready, but here's the thing. I can stand here today and say we are that church, and we are continuing to become more and more of that church. That was just about 3 years ago. Here's the crazy thing. I preached that, and 2 weeks later we got shut down because everybody got shut down, and we were in COVID. all this excitement, all this desire, like God's doing something and now we're shut down. Does it look like we're going to become that church then? You talk about doubt setting in and questioning and like, is God really, was this really from God? Man, talk about the highest level of it. But here's what's crazy. God is so faithful. God is so good. But here's the thing. I want to share this part before I share the next. Is in doing so, God was very clear because I went on and said, in doing this, as we become this, we will build a church of mature and powerful Christians who know and walk in deep relationship with the Father, are known, loved, and fully surrendered to Jesus as both Lord and Savior, are led by and submitted to the heart of God by the infilling of the Holy Spirit, so rooted in Him, we are unshakable in our faith and certainty of who He is and His goodness. And church, it makes me so proud to stand here as a pastor and say, we are that church. We have seen incredible things. We have had people praying where someone comes up to receive prayer and they've got like a growth, a lump, I don't know if it's a tumor or what, on their wrist, and physically watch it go away as they were praying right before their eyes. That takes faith. That's Jesus. That's saying we know He will do good things. We've seen cancer healed. We've seen marriages restored. We've seen finances turn around. We have seen God do incredible things. And here's the thing. We've also seen where we're still praying and we've yet to see those prayers answered. And we are a church of endurance because we have seen the goodness of God. We're so certain of it. We've been forever changed and we can't go back. If I never see another miracle, I've seen too much. I'll never question Him. I'm forever changed. We are forever changed. And so what's really crazy is even through that, as we shared that and we're going into this, and all of a sudden, literally a week, 2 weeks later, we're going from, this is where we're going, church, to shut the doors. What are we going to do? The whole world's confused. And while we were meeting in our homes, while we were watching online and couldn't leave, the church grew. When every other church's finances were going backwards, ours were increasing. People didn't have toilet paper, they didn't have paper towels, they didn't have things like that, and we were delivering it to them. How cool is God? You talk about people hurting, you talk about people all of a sudden like broken, beat down, like the hurt ones, all of us, God showed up. The thing is, we didn't know how to see it. And God just started moving. And God has continued to bless the church. God has continued to increase the church because of just saying, God, we see you and we're saying yes to you. This isn't my vision. This isn't church, get behind me. I got this great idea. Because if I'm honest with you, I look at it, I go, this is a terrible idea. There's going to be a lot of problems. But God goes, it's my plan. It's not in vain. It's going to be messy. But God is doing incredible things. And so here's the thing. I'm talking about room for more. And I'm going to dive into more of this with the 5 generations. And God's been very clear about 5 areas of influence. So you definitely want to be here next week. But I want to shift here for a minute because we've been talking and praying. We've been seeing the increase. Church, I told you we went from about 200 down to 40 or 50. And then through disaster, God grew this church. We are now a church of about 350 to 400. That's crazy in just a few years because God is bringing the increase. God is doing incredible things in our midst. It's exciting to be a part of it. But the thing is there's where we need room. You wouldn't believe this. 1/3 of our church is kids. And if you've had the opportunity to go up there and see, it is a mess. We've got it organized, but it's just hacked up, cut up, and we need to make room. God has been bringing the increase, whether it's new believers or whether it's kids. This church is a fertile church. Like, I don't know if it's in the water, but we have seen, it's amazing. Pastor David and Hannah Runia, like their family, for years we were praying. For years they carried a burden. Their son is a true miracle. When they were ready to give up, God said, here you go. 7 years. How amazing is that? to be pressing in and believing. And so God is saying there's time to make room for more. And so what we want to do, church, is we have this desire, and we've been praying the last couple of years. We've received a word that God is going to bring a massive increase, and we need to get ready for it. We've been growing, but even more. And we need to be prepared. And so we've been, God, what does that mean? Does that mean a new building? Does that mean go out and find land? Does that mean expand things in here? Like this place, we moved in this. This was a warehouse. 2 shop doors. God has so blessed this and said, here's my gift to you. When we moved into here, it didn't look this nice. It wasn't this fancy like a Taj Mahal like it is. So warehouse. People come in, they're like, I love what you've done with this. Wasn't this a warehouse? And we're like, yeah, thanks for reminding us. So much so, this is story, I got to get to the end of this, but I want to share this. Like, when I say messy, we had a conference here once, and our sewage was backing up. And if you don't know this, there is a drain right here that we covered, and we literally had the sewage in the middle of a conference backing up. All of a sudden, there was a pond right here at the front in the middle of worship. And I was just like, yes, thank you, God. This is so great. And I texted my pastor, my overseer, and he's like, if it's funny later, it's funny now. And I was like, I don't see anything funny about this. You see, the enemy loves to show up and disrupt things. I'm not saying he caused that. That was frozen pipes and lumps and a whole bunch of other stuff. But man, you talk about situations where you're like, God, we're never going to recover from this. We have sewage backing up into our sanctuary during service. Like, how is this going to be good? We had porta potties outside because we had to shut them down for like 2 months while we tried to figure all this out. And you know what was crazy? While we were doing that, while that was happening, it was packing in here. And we were like, all right, it's time to go to 2 services.
Yes, that's right. That's exactly right.
God is faithful. And so we need to make more room. And so as we've been praying for this, we have a number, church. We have a remodel that we have planned, and I want to share some of it with you and show you. And this is it's a big undertaking. This means making room. I don't know if you've noticed this, but church, you guys are kind of a church that likes each other. And so we need some more open space. It's like a traffic jam every single week, whether it's midweek or Sunday service, getting in and out of here. Like, we have no foyer. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but you guys like each other. And you like to talk to each other. And you like to jam up the hallways. And so we're like, we got a problem. We got to make more room for flow. We got a lot of kids that are upstairs. And you know what? They enjoy being up there. And there's a lot of them in little spaces. And we're like, we got to make more room for them. And so, church, we have an exciting plan, and this is, we're going to be tearing out walls. We're going to be rededicating those spaces, opening up, and making them, specific uses. And so, like, this is the foyer. We're looking at wanting to open it up to make more room. We want to close off this door over here and shut this wall off. It allows us to add 30 to 40 more chairs in here. That's more room between 2 services. That's like 60 to 80 more chairs, 80 more butts and seats. Kidding. How exciting. But this is the other thing. Every week there's like a collision coming up and down those stairs from kids going up, kids coming down, parents going up, parents coming down. This allows us to open things up and have better visibility. It's pretty awesome. Moving all our kids space upstairs. Fellowship area. Between service, like, I literally had to go up and tell people, like, I was just talking about this. I know you like each other, but we have 2 minutes. Second service is starting, and like 20 of you need to leave. Or you can stay for worship if you want to stay for round 2. And I'm joking, I'm being silly, but the thing is like, you like each other. We have community here. God has been faithful, and so he's doing stuff. And so we need more space. And so we want to take out the nursery, open that up so we have better flow and more. We have lots of ideas and plans to use that space. In addition to that, new moms, like, we got a lot of new moms here, and they don't have anywhere to go to nurse their babies. Like, they try to go into the nursery. But hey, we've got couples serving in there. Others are in there. There's men in there, and sometimes they would like a space. So we have a desire to create a dedicated space where they can go and for nursing moms with a sign on the door that says, nursing moms only. with live feed and make it comfortable for them. Because if you've been a mom and you've got young ones and you're trying to step out of service because they're being fussy or whatever, it's like you feel like you're missing out. Well, we don't want to miss anybody. We want everybody to come here and feel like, man, this is home. I belong here, and I'm engaged, and I'm connected. I'm not out here on my own just wandering around. The fellowship space. That, like me as a young dad, when we had young kids, we still have one that's pretty young, but it's like there was a time where many of our kids, they cried a lot, a few of them. One of them was very colicky, and so we'd step out, and it's like, well, they're all in there having fun, hearing the message and all the good stuff, and I'm out here, I hear nothing. Where do I go? Where's it comfortable? Right now, it is not comfortable out there. And so this allows us to just make that a little better so that we feel and others can feel comfortable and like this is home and they belong here and there's a space for them and they've been thought of. Kids space. Look at that. If you don't know this, in this particular room, there is 2 walls we're going to be taking out. It does not look like that right now. Right now, it looks like we've got these kids in a closet and there's something wrong and someone should be calling. I'm kidding. That's not real. We got some rooms up there. We put a lot of attention into it. But the thing is it's not enough room. I don't know if you've met kids like mine and like yours, but they need room. They like to run. They're kids. They need space. And when they don't have it, they start going crazy. And we've got a lot of them and many more to come. You see, we're so passionate. Like one of the things that's unique about this church, so passionate about the future generation, that I myself will even go up there and teach it. I love you guys, but I love your kids more. I love the kids in this church. Because they are the future of the church. I'm kidding, I love you all the same, but the reality is like they're the future. They're the future. I love spending time with them. I love getting to know them. It's incredible. When God gives you vision for them to show you things and you start praying for them, like you start to see things and you're just like, yes, God. Baby dedication is one of my favorite services because God moves powerfully. So more room. More space, open things up. If, this is a big if. So here's the thing, church, to do all this is about $100,000 minimum. But if, we'll get to that, we're going to be receiving an offering, not today, but if God brings more, there's other things that we would want to do to just up things, to make things a little better. We have people that join us online. It's amazing how many people join us online. And speaking to the online people, like being here, I get it's not the same, but here's the thing. We've had people for 2 or 3 years after COVID were still watching online and just recently showed up. So it matters. Everything that we do here matters. We take it all serious. We consider it all, and we seek the Lord on it as to what to do. And so if we can go, everything in our dream that we would want to do with this facility is about $150,000. It would allow us to do some other things in here, to the space, and just for the flow of things, all of that. Some things outside, signage and stuff like that. You've seen some stuff already, what we've done to the parking. That has been incredible. Like you actually know where you're parking now. I don't know if you noticed the lines, but they're amazing. You see, God is doing incredible things, and he's saying, prepare for the increase. And so with that, you see, this is just one step into what we believe is the next 5 to 7 years. We know there's a building in our future that this is just for the interim. And so we have wrestled as pastors, as elders, as leaders for a couple of years, specifically about a year now. God, do you want us to do the remodel because we don't own this place? Is this good stewarding? Does this make sense? Do you really want us to do this? Or do you want us to move in the direction of something completely new? Here's the thing. A building would cost us about $5 million. That's a big number to me. But it's a little teeny, tiny number to God. It's like nothing. And so here's the thing is we know that's in our future where we are actively looking for land. Believing that God is going to do something and pressing in, and we're holding it all like this. And so church, we are wanting the answer. We want to move forward with this. We'd like to, and we felt it was time to come to the church and give the ask and say, church, this is what we are hearing from God. Here's what we want to do. Here's where we want to go. Let's let God speak. And so there is a number that we have in mind. In a couple weeks, on September 10th, we are going to receive an offering. You can give along the way if you want, but here's the thing. We believe there's a number, and if we hit that number, that is God's answer to say, this is what I want you to do. That he will be very, very clear. And so, church, we are asking you to go away and to pray and to seek the Lord and ask him, God, what is my part in this? Do you want me to be a part of this? We're asking you to seek him, much like it says in 2 Corinthians 2:8, where Paul's talking to the church and he says, they went and they sought the Lord. And they didn't give reluctantly, they didn't give out of impulse, but they gave as the Lord decided. And so that's what we're asking you to do. We're not asking you to be impulsive. We're not asking you to just get excited because we're excited. We're asking you to seek the Lord. We're holding this with open hands to say, Lord, what do you want to do? Where do you want to take this? Who knows? Who knows what could come? But we're believing and trusting in him. Okay? So in a couple weeks, would you spend the next few weeks praying and asking the Lord, what does this look like for me? I'm going to pray. We're going to close this out. Lord Jesus, we're so grateful for you.